So I recently got the opportunity to start the CAF-0. I made a tutorial video to help me remember the overall flow of how to start it because the starter and primer and etc. switches are all over the place, and so there's a flow with our hands on how to do it. Note that this does not replace the actual approved procedures on how to start the Zero, and if you try to use this to start a Zero from World War II, it will not work, because the Zero from World War II has a Nakajima Sakai engine, which has a float carburetor, and the primer on those original Zeros was a piston type. Our Zero has a Pratt & Whitney R1830 with a pressure carburetor, and it has a completely different kind of primer. It's a solenoid primer, which uses boost pump pressure to spray fuel via a solenoid, lets fuel flow directly to the spray nozzles into the supercharger for priming action during start. This is pretty emblematic of how you start any big radial from the World War II era that has a solenoid primer. It's the same basic kind of technique, but it will not work if you're trying to start a World War II Zero. So if you're using this as any kind of reference for your flight simulator or something, don't use it, because this is how you start a modern Zero warbird. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoy the video. Here's the start procedure for the Zero. So first you come over here and you set the throttle so that the back edge is just below the 1 right there. Make sure this is in the cutoff, make sure this is forward, and then you turn on the battery, first switch, and then these two switches, battery and generator, and then once you give prop clear, turn on the boost pump, and then put your right hand on the starter. Let's see if I can put your right hand on the starter, and you get your left hand here. You hit the starter with your left hand ready to go in the mags, and you count 6 blades. After you get 6 blades, you put the mags to both with your right hand still on the starter, and your left hand on the primer. You press and hold the primer, and then it should fire off in another 6 blades. Once it fires off, what you do is you take your right hand off the starter and you put your right hand on the mixture. With your left hand still pushing the primer, you move the mixture to auto lean, and then you put your right hand on the stick and you pull it full back. And you still have your left hand on the primer. Once the engine starts running rough because you've got both primer and mixture going, you let go of the primer and you put your left hand on the throttle. And you mess with the throttle to get 750 RPM, so 700 to 800 RPM as fast as possible. So you give throttle gently or take throttle out as necessarily to achieve that. And once it's running good at 700 RPM, then you make sure you've got oil pressure. And once you're stable at 700 RPM, then you turn off the boost pump. And once you've run at 700 RPM for a little while, you can go to 1,000 and start warming up at 1,000 RPM. So yeah, that's the start procedure for the A6M3 Zero. Clear? Clear.